of both senators to come and speak or to come and attend or be a part of what we're doing, the first person through the door was Jim Matheson every time. The first person to say, I'll be there, I want to help, I want to do everything I can, was Jim Matheson. I'm telling you, he has a ground game. It's not just the face of the party and the message. He has volunteers, he has a war chest, he has a whole lot of people who are very interested in seeing him reelected. Yes. And it's because he has been far more responsive, I hate to say it, than any of the other Utah delegation was up until about 2 years ago. So what I'm wondering is, tell me about your ground organization, tell me about your volunteers, telephone trees, neighborhood representatives. What are you doing to get the vote out, to get the base excited, and to get people really interested in you and away from his pull?
I can tell you right now that we've got a great ground game going on. We've got volunteers that are our organization continues to grow and grow and grow. We're doing very well. We've also raised more money. We've also raised money at a more rapid rate than any other candidate in this district. Some candidates started very early, but we started in January. We've been raising money rapidly since. But here's what I'll tell you: Matheson's got a great game. Yes, he's been able to really fool Republicans into thinking he's actually Republican, and we need to focus on his record. Yes, that's what we're going to focus on. Instead of focusing on the other nonsense that he's tried to focus on with the other candidates, we get to actually focus on his record. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back and forth and make sure that we do that. And I'm not going to obviously let too much out in terms of strategy. But I'm preparing myself for a Matheson race. That's why I bring him up. I'm preparing myself for that race.
I think that's the right thing to do, is because he will be the opponent to beat, not these other candidates.
And then we're going to talk about one more thing at the end of how
many terms has he been in already? Six. So he's just like 6. Oh my gosh. Tell me longer.
Yes.
So I went to the debate you guys had a couple weeks ago, whatever, on Saturday. And in my notebook that I was taking notes on, I wrote down something about each candidate. And I remember I wrote about you, I wrote that you're dynamic and energetic. Okay? And then I went to your website and I looked at your videos and I looked at the one with you running with your husband, I assume, who you're running with. Like,
it was like, I know, yeah. People were like, how did you get snow? I was like, it was the only day that it snowed. And he looked at me and he said, so, what are we going to do? Do you want to just, skip the running part? I was like, this is Utah. We run in the snow. We run in the sleet. We don't run in the wind.
My real question was, how does he keep up with you?
Oh, he's a runner also.
That's good. So, as dynamic as you are, and your message rings very true with most of the delegates. I've talked to a lot of the other delegates while we were there. My concern, and I can't see the guy over there who asked the same question. You're going up against someone with a lot of experience doing this. That's not a bad thing for you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a freshman coming in and shaking things up. Do you have the money to go up against him? And if you do, and I know you just said, I don't want to let out too much strategy. I don't know that that's a bad thing, because as a delegate, I want to know, number one, if you've really got a strategy going that can meet, because I want a Republican in the office. I've met with the other candidates as well, and that's why I'm here tonight. But do you actually have enough money? And okay. You're going to need a lot of money.
Yes, we're going to need a lot of money. But let me tell you something so we get it straight. John Swallow, when he went up against Jim Matheson, he almost matched him. So we've got $1,071,000 is what John Swallow spent to Matheson's $1,400,000. Again, Matheson doesn't win because he's got a lot of money, because he's always had a lot of money. He's able to pull in those votes that I told you about. He wins with votes. We have enough money. We will have plenty of money to get the name out there, to get the TV ads out there, to do all of the things that we need to do. Don't take your eye off the ball here. He wins because he takes those votes. That's how everybody wins, right? That's how Matheson wins.
Well, but there's a portion of those votes that he buys. I mean, whether he goes out and says, I'm going to give you $100 for your vote, or he goes out and buys expensive ads and comes out and says he's going to get you to vote, he buys those votes. And you're gonna need to match him. You're gonna need to not just match him, but beat him. And, you know, I don't wanna belabor the money issue. I've seen enough campaigns go up against him to run out of gas. And, you know, I believe you have the energy to do it personally and physically. My concern goes back to the same thing. Do you have the support of enough cash to do it? And I guess my other question would go on, you say because of who you are, where you come from. I agree with that. I realize it's not a race issue, it's not a female issue. Tell us, I mean, what about you that he's not going to be able, that he's never come up against? Are you going to put out there and say, you've just never seen this before?
So what's he going to do? Remember, look at the candidates that he's had. Look at, for instance, and I don't want to bring up other candidates, that's not my goal. But you look at the people that are endorsing. You've got Club for Growth, you've got Eagle Forum, you've got all of these other groups that have gone behind candidate. And you see, look at what's happened to even Dan, who's not even associated with Freedom Works. Look what's happened there. You have to understand that that's what they do. They take Republican nominees and they push them. Now, how many endorsements have you seen me put out? I talk about them here, but I don't just put them out there because I'm trying to seek the endorsements of the people in the 4th district. So that's the other thing. He's not going to be able to use those against me. I have my beliefs, I have those strong beliefs, and again, I'm uniting Utahns under that same umbrella. It's about economic, getting us back on our feet economic-wise. I'm not concerned, I am concerned, but I'm not going to fall on the sword on all of these other things because to me it's like remodeling the kitchen when the house is on fire. Like I said, so fiscal discipline, limited government, personal responsibility. My focus is on energy independence. My focus is on getting Utah lands back so that we will be able to be self-sufficient when we get rid of programs like the Department of Education, when we try and become independent instead of dependent on federal government. So that's my focus. And those are the things I'm going to do. And that message resonates from one to the other. Again, my job is to try and unite Utahns and to get, when I get to Washington, to get our fellow Americans to come along with us.
Can I just ask a follow-up with that? Are you endorsed by a PAC?
I am endorsed by a PAC, yes.
Are you willing to tell us which PAC?
I'm endorsed by ShePAC, which is the Palin PAC, and Condoleezza Rice is part of that PAC also. There are a couple of others that we've just put up there that, you know, we're just kind of keeping until it strategically works for us.
Okay.
You spent a lot of time talking about the economy and jobs and so on and so forth. Let's shift gears a little bit. Would you talk about the federal lands issue here in the state? And also, would you address your view of energy independence?
Great. Federal lands in the state. Over 64% of our lands is owned by federal government. Now, we were told that they would give it back to us within a reasonable amount of time. I would say over a century is a reasonable amount of time. Bottom line is Utah should be in control of Utah lands, not federal government. We live here. It's interesting that people who've never stepped foot in Utah can make decisions on Utah lands. And I've got a personal issue with federal lands because a lot of Saratoga Springs, there's a lot of BLM land in Saratoga Springs. We fight a lot of those fires. We can't maintain them. We can't keep the winds down. 4 years ago, we fought a fire that was so atrocious. It took us 12 hours to take it out. We ruined a couple of trucks by going into terrain that those trucks weren't meant to go into. And it cost the taxpayers a lot of money. Not just Saratoga Springs in terms of the truck, the federal government. So if we were able to actually maintain that, then we would be able to take care of it and not have to fight those fires for as long as we did.
But what are the mechanisms by which you'll get federal lands back?
Well, Ken Ivory's got a great bill. Again, these are things we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Ken Ivory's got a great bill. The only thing that I've told Ken is that, you know, instead of asking, the only thing I probably would have changed, even though I support the bill, instead of asking for federal government, please give us our lands back, please, please, I'd start acting like it's ours and force federal government to come in and say, whoa, wait a minute, what are you doing? I'd start negotiating and selling or doing whatever we wanted to, and then have federal government come in and tell us what their nexus is for holding on to our lands. I take more of a proactive approach.
Well, there's proactive, and then you're selling federal government land and you don't have the right to sell. So-
Whoa, actually, I see it the other way around. I see federal government having land that they don't have the right to have.
But they have the title.
Well, they don't have the rights, they don't have the right to
But
have
they have
it.
the title.
Well, they have the, but again, you've got an executive, it's not, you can't take these things laying down, or else we would just stay doing exactly what we're doing. We've got to start fighting back, right? So you're asking me.
That's what I'm
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is there's Ken Ivory's bill. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. That bill actually works really well. But I'm okay if somebody wants to take, or if I want to take a proactive approach and say, these are our lands, if they're not going to budge, let's get them to try and take us to court, and then we can say, whoa, wait a minute. These actually belong to Utah. Push them to the courts. That's perfectly fine. Let's fight our battles there. Then they have to explain why it's their land, why they have the rights to it.
What about energy independence?
I am pro being energy independent. I believe that affordable, available energy is important to them. I am pro the Keystone Pipeline. I believe that we should try and do everything we can. It will make us more competitive on the global market. It'll make it so that we are able to get energy or bring energy costs down. It would create jobs. And when the Iran says we're not going to let a drop of oil cross the Straits of Hormuz, we can say, so what? We don't